Hailing from the Jersey Shore and raised as athletes, the Airey Bros have always shared a passion for physical culture, athletic performance, and human optimization, always striving to be the strongest versions of themselves, mentally, physically, spiritually, and emotionally. Along the way, they've met some pretty amazing humans and have had some pretty epic adventures. The intention of Airey Bros Radio is to showcase these amazing people and the impact that they've had on them, and to share tips, tricks, and hacks so that you can win each day, every day.
You're listening to Airey Bros Radio. Be there or be square, because it's all killer, no filler.
When the alarm goes off at 6 a.m., I really don't care if you don't feel like getting up and going. You do it anyway. Do it anyway because we want to win championships and want to graduate. That was our two deals. Dude, I made every mistake in the book. People think, man, you won 10 national titles. Yeah, the first one, I was 43. You know, your son wins a national title. You're the coach. There's only been 5 in history. I had 12 doctors that went through the wrestling program in those 22 years. I mean, they're out practicing today. You know, that's when it gets easier when, you know, I'll give you an example. When I had athletes telling other athletes, hey man, why were you late for practice? And they say something, I don't know. I said, do it anyway, man. Do it anyway. God, I love that. If you don't like the results, just get better. Praise effort. I appreciated sacrifice, seeing sacrifice. Hey, this is Jim Miller. You listen to Airey Bros Radio. Do it anyway. Whether you want to or not, doesn't matter. You want to be successful, you listen to this podcast. Boom. I never thought I'd write a book or be an author or whatever, but Kyle Klingman, who's with Flow Wrestling, he wrote Gable's second book, and we were good friends, and we had started on a book, and but it was slow going, it seemed like, to me anyway, but we had a number of things done, but then when COVID hit and shut everything down, we had all kinds of time. And so it took off. And then within 6 months, we were done with the book and had our first, published the first, I don't know how many, 1,500 books, something like that. And then we just kind of took off. And so, but, do it anyway is, to me in my life is profound. I mean, it was kind of the 37 years I coached, especially the 30 years at the college level, 8 at UNI and 22 at Wartburg. It was kind of it was our deal. It was our mantra, and, it's kind of like, hey man, we got 6:30 a.m. run lift tomorrow. Be on the track, ready to go at 6:30. And when the alarm goes off at 6 a.m., I really don't care if you don't feel like getting up and going. You do it anyway. Do it anyway because we want to win championships and want to graduate. That was our two deals. Because at 6:30 p.m. we got study hall, right? And so, I mean, when are you ever going to feel like going to the library to study? Never, probably. You do it anyway because we want to graduate. So that was kind of, and it relates to everything. It relates to everything, working out, getting up early, going to study, going to work. I've had athletes call or email me so many times over the year. Hey, coach, I had to do it anyway last night. My baby was up all night, stuff like that. I mean, it's just real life. It's real life. And so we knew that was going to be the name of the book. I mean, it's just such a good, and Nick is a good example. He took that and, when that resonated with him, it changed his career, can change your life. It's just a thought process of doing things when it's hard. Obviously, it's going to be hard at times. Life's hard sometimes. But if you know what you're going to do, if you know what you need to do, most people do this. Most people do know what they need to do, whether it's to climb the success ladder at work or to get fit, whatever it might be. They know the things they probably need to do. It's just a matter of doing it. It simplifies it. It's a matter of just doing, hey, here's what I got to do. And you know what? I found the most important time to do it anyway is especially when you don't feel like it. Right? I mean, Because there's very few people on that road. Because most people, when they really don't feel like it, they don't do it. You know, they go back to sleep or whatever it is. And so, you know, and when and it becomes a success habit is what we found. It just becomes a habit. It's a success habit. And when you got a whole team doing it, it just skyrockets. You know, it's just momentum for everybody because everybody else is doing it. It could be the same thing if you're running a business and you're the owner of the business. You know, if you had your employees competing or working at or near their full potential, probably going to see some pretty good things happen. That's what happened with our wrestling teams. You know, when you got a team doing it, regardless of whether they feel like it. I mean, when it becomes irrelevant if you feel like it or not, you know, it's irrelevant. And when it gets to that point, man, that's fun because it just becomes an automatic deal. You know, you don't have to say, oh boy, you don't have to be. And I, you know, I coached a long time and I talked to a lot of coaches and I know when they were wrestling a lot of my teams, it would be, boy, this week we're going to have to really be good, you know, this week, you know, and they're already, you know, spending energy worrying about competing against somebody, you know, that's good. And, you know, why should it be this week? Why can't it just be that's who you are? When it's time to compete, we're going all out. We're doing it in practice. You know, it's just who we are, you know, it's part of our DNA. And I don't know if that sounded any familiar with what Nick Mitchell talked about, but it's a simple concept, but it's pretty profound.
Yeah, I say often to people, clients especially, is that we all need discipline in our lives, and so many high performers always talk about the need for discipline, and you're nothing without that discipline. And one of the simple things is, when I get in the cold shower every morning to take my 3-minute cold shower, I remind myself, and I say it a few times, be disciplined, because if I'm not disciplined, I'm going to turn the water on warm before I get in. With that being said, what does the book encompass? Is it geared towards self-help? Is it encompass wrestling? Is a little bit everything?
Yeah. I mean, after each chapter, there's some takeaways from each chapter. Here's the paragraph. All good teams, businesses, and organizations have people willing to go the extra mile for themselves and each other. Sometimes they may not really want to, or they may not even feel like it, but they do it anyway. If it's important to your success, whether you feel like it or not, is irrelevant. You do it anyway. So it talks about people that inspired me in my career, and I had a lot of them. And there's a lot of stories in there that people relate to. You know, for example, I grew up in Waterloo, Iowa. That's where I'm at now. We were a wrestling hotbed and all that back then. And we're trying to get back to that. But I was the youngest of 6 kids. None went to college. I was the only one. And I wouldn't have went either if my high school coach wouldn't have had a profound effect on me and said, you need to go. You got more in you. But, you know, we lived in a 800 square foot house, 2-bedroom, 6 kids and mom and dad. Mom and dad slept on a fold-out couch the first 15 years of my life. Dude, I didn't know it was any different until I went to somebody else's house. And when I was 15, I was the last kid in the house. And my parents moved into a bedroom, the other bedroom. That was a big day. I mean, that was a big day. And you know what? I appreciated sacrifice, seeing sacrifice. And I can't tell you, you know, I mean, how much I still to this day appreciate having my own bedroom. And there's little things like that, you know, stuff like that. And when I was 9, I thought I had a big disaster in my life because I didn't make the Little League baseball team. Baseball was my deal, you know. And back then, that was the only sport that was organized sports back then that you could do as a kid. They didn't have wrestling. They didn't have any other sports stuff, baseball in the summer. But anyway, my point is, I was devastated because I had a bad tryout. Back then, we actually had tryouts, 9 years old, and I didn't make the team. The coach came the next day, put up the kids that made the team. I wasn't on it, and I can remember riding my bike home, bawling, crying, embarrassed and devastated. I get home and my dad was in his usual spot in a recliner, reading the newspaper, and he said, "What?" He said, "What's wrong?" And I said, "Man, I didn't make the team." And he said, "You have a bad tryout?" I go, "Yeah." And he paused for about 5 seconds, and he said, "I guess you're just going to have to get better," and went back to reading the newspaper. And the next day there was a pitchback in the yard. If you know one of them pitchbacks, you throw the ball, comes back to you. You can throw grounders, pop up. And I got better. I mean, I got better. But the whole point, if you don't like the results, just get better, was profound in my life as an athlete, coach, teacher, husband, father, just that simple concept. And you don't whine, you don't bitch about the coach, you get better. And that was really a point in my life that I took and applied over and over and over, that really helped me get better in whatever I was trying to do.
Coach, you seem to have a way to take really profound things and put it into something really simple, right? Whether it be do it anyway, whether it be how the sacrifice of your parents motivate you, or just talking about get better, right? And I used to have wrestling coaches all growing up saying this sport will change your life for the rest of your life, and it's going to help you and make everything in life easier. We've all heard those sayings, and it seems like you were able to find a way in that do it anyway to put all that hard work, all the effort kind of in that word and make that a mantra. And I just wish I would have known you when I was 17 and I had all these coaches telling me, "Oh, this is going to make you better for what?" I was always like, how is this going to make life easier? Now as an old man, I'm preaching those same lessons. But the question I have off of all that is, at what point as a coach does it become about getting the best effort out of the kids and not so much about winning and losing and the life lessons? Like, where was that switch for you, or was it kind of always like that because you had that coach make that profound impact on you?
Well, I learned early how you think has so much to do with how you perform and what you attain, no matter what you're chasing. I was really lucky because I found out early. And I always, maybe I talk in stories, but all these things were profound points. Going into I won a couple of Division II titles and was second twice in Division I. But so people are usually surprised when I tell them, going into my senior year of high school, I had not even qualified for the state tournament. I was not a confident student athlete. And fortunately for me, a new coach came in that year, and who inspired me. And I remember about 2 weeks into the season, him saying, "Jimmy, when we get to state this year," and he kept talking, I didn't hear another word he said. I was saying, "Coach thinks I can go to state. Coach thinks I can go to state." I mean, my work ethic went up, my excitement went up, everything. I was so excited, and we did. But I don't know if he said that not knowing, or was he totally convinced? I never asked him, but I can't tell you how much difference that made for me. And so as a coach, I'm taking that knowing that how you think, it has so much to do with it. So when I am recruiting athletes, that was a big part when I talk to them. And also, because I get still to this day, a lot of college coaches will ask, "What did you look for in recruiting?" And I said there was one major thing. Was there a lot of things? I go, sure, there was a number of things. Obviously, you want somebody that you think's really going to be good, all that. But the one trait was fight. Watching kids compete. I'm not talking about fist fight. I'm talking about how did they compete? Because if you got a kid that comes in and he already knows he's not afraid of fatigue, that's a big deal. Because most kids I had, even the really good ones, very few came in at the beginning without a fear of fatigue. They're, in some way hesitant to get tired and tried to avoid getting tired. I know that because I was that guy. I was that guy in high school. I was that guy, and I spent more time trying not to get tired than just go get tired. And so, but sometimes you got kids, you just watch them, they don't care. They get tired, but they don't care. That's a big difference, because it's easier to teach them how to wrestle than it is to convince them that, hey, you're going to be fine. I mean, I coached 37 years, never one time had to call an ambulance because somebody got too tired. Not one time. And so, I'm talking to you guys like I'm saying the same things to my team. Hey man, what are you talking about? You're going to be fine. Never had to ever call an ambulance. And so, convincing kids, encouraging kids to just go all out. And once they do, they will realize it. Once they know, hey man, I'd wait till somebody was really tired. They look tired in the match. They'd get off. I'd wait a minute, maybe 2 minutes. And I go over and say, hey man, you're already okay. You're already recovered. What? Were you really that tired? Things like that, was affecting how they think, number one, but convincing them that, hey man, I mean, you just think about it. When I first started at Wartburg, we weren't very good, and we hadn't won a conference title in 13 years when I got there. We had never won a national title in anything in the history of the college. And I mean, even in my interview, I was told by one of the guys on the committee, hey, we just don't do that here. We don't do that here. And they didn't do that here, but that didn't mean that you couldn't, how you think, So anyway, the second year we won the conference title, and then 21 in a row. And then in 5 years, we won a national title. And a few years later, we won the second one. This was when I really realized something was happening. I mean, it was happening within the athletic department. Other teams were like, whoa, we won a national title. But after the second title, we were building a library. And, the board of regents have to determine how much money goes into the library. And obviously, the more money, the bigger the library, cooler things in the library. But anyway, when our head librarian got her chance to talk, one of the things she said to the board of regents was, if we can have the best Division III wrestling team in the country, why can't we have the best library? She was thinking bigger, and we got a great library, but those things like that if you surround yourself with people that think at a high level, more likely you will, sometimes you got to convince them. The more people you got around you that works at a real high level, at or near their full potential, more likely so will the others. And it works the other way too. If you got a whole group of kids that aren't wrestling very hard, don't think big, then that's an issue, because that can spread to the few kids that might be, So I really put a lot of stock in that, what we talk about. Why not us? Who said we can't win? Who made that rule? When I first got there, because they weren't thinking of themselves on the podium. They weren't thinking about our team going to get the trophy. We never got the trophy. But what if we did? What if that was us? I mean, you start putting a video in their mind, like my high school coach, when we get to state this year, don't think I didn't replay that over and over and over. And so you're putting positive video in their mind. I mean, sometimes it's just things they had never thought about. I mean, I use that with kids that came in that were good wrestlers, but they didn't think about graduation. They wanted to wrestle. And, but we had a very, very high graduation rate. Matter of fact, only one in 22 years didn't graduate. And so, but when I say when they'd say something like, hey, what's that going to feel like walking across the stage in graduation? And you kind of see a light bulb like, huh? I go, what's that going to feel like for your mom, your dad, your brothers and sisters? It was a motivate. I mean, it was just a picture that they had never envisioned before. I go, hey, you want to win championships, but also we want to walk across that stage in graduation. And so things like that you just have a chance to lift up others, as a coach, that may have nothing to do with the sport. And that's the life lessons you asked about. I mean, that's the life lessons so when did that start? That started at the beginning for me. And it's never, I mean, that's the most important part of the whole thing. Most important part of practice is talking about some of that stuff and giving them an opportunity to think that they could be on the podium. Because usually when someone like me that wasn't that successful in high school, for example, I never thought about me being on there. I always watched other people being on there. And but when I got that picture, that was pretty cool, What would that feel like walking up the podium? What would that feel like get our team walking up and get a trophy? Stuff like that.
Coach, so you mentioned it's all about the positive mental mindset and how you think. And when everyone's on board, it makes things easier. And, as a coach, you're getting kids, they already have 18 years of life and 18 years of program. And when you get them, how do you kind of help reprogram them with that thinking? And did you ever have a season where people weren't buying in, where you kind of had to have an intervention and kind of get them all on the same page and thinking right? Like, how do you turn that around for maybe the coaches listening that kind of want to create that positive attitude in their program?
Yeah, don't get me wrong. It was hard. To change the culture was hard in the beginning. That was the hardest part about the whole thing, was just changing the culture, change how they thought. That
how many years do you think that takes?
It really depends on, for us, it was 2 years. I mean, we were second in the nation the second year, but we were lucky because I had some really good recruits that did know it, did buy in. They already, I mean, they were a high level thinker as well, but we also had a number of kids that was on the team that raised their level. And it was a struggle. Don't get me wrong, man. That didn't happen until the very end. I didn't see a light of day until toward the end of the year, the first year. And then we had a couple people that really took charge, athletes that took charge, that really raised our level the second year. And but trust me, I know it. I coached high school 7 years. I know it's hard, but that's what you got to work at. And you don't just do the X's and O's. That's not the most important part that's going to raise the level. Obviously, that's important. So is strength training. So is being in shape and all that stuff. But that's not the most important thing. I mean, if you got an athlete that doesn't think they can win, no matter how much training they do, when it really gets tough, you're probably not going to see the results you want. I'd rather have someone that just fights their butt off the whole time, because at some point they're going to beat somebody they're not supposed to. So did our team. And then all of a sudden we thought we could, and so I was always looking for those kids. I was always talking to coaches. Tell me about this kid's practice. Or sometimes I'd go watch a young guy wrestle who I knew was pretty good. And I'd see somebody else that just went so hard and had a great attitude. Who's that guy? Who's that kid? I want to talk to that kid. And so it was just the whole thing of getting, if you got half your team that are really like that, you're going to bring a lot of other ones with them and try to change it. Because, that's when it gets easier when, I'll give you an example. When I had athletes telling other athletes, hey, man, why were you late for practice? They say something, I don't know. I said, do it anyway, man. Do it anyway. God, I love that. I love that because, you could just feel the culture changing the kids. I didn't have to do it all. It was the culture. And so, yeah. And, you know, sometimes you might have the best talented kids or one of the better kids that is not doing it, is not buying in. You know, he's hurting you. He's hurting the culture. So then it gets hard. You know, what are you going to do then? You know? So.
With that being said, Coach, you know, those early years where, you know, maybe the guys are buying in, they're doing the extra work in the weight room, they're doing the road work, they're doing the running. You as the coach can see the progress, but maybe they're still taking some lumps on the mat, you know, in competition, but you know that they're going in the right direction. How do you keep them on the hook and still continuing to buy into the process?
Praise effort. Keep praising effort. I'd pick out some of the worst guys on the team that go hard. That's what I'm talking about. Win or lose, that's what I'm talking about. You know, I have, you know, give you an example. One dual meet, it worked out great. One dual meet, we had this young man who was really good. He ended up being a 2-time national champ, all that. Freak of nature kind of kid. He went out and he wrestled this kid in a dual meet, won 3-2. He should have won 15-2. I mean, he did just enough. I said, that ain't what I'm talking about. To the whole team and him. Ain't what I'm talking about. Luckily, that same dual meet, we had a backup wrestling the other team's best guy. He got beat 3-2. That's what I'm talking about. I mean, he fought his butt off. That's what I'm talking about. I mean, that's when I could see light bulbs going on. You know what I mean? Because he fought. It was effort. It was effort based. And I'm going to praise effort, whether it's there or whether it's in the classroom. If I ever had a professor say, hey, Johnny, I really love Johnny. He does, man, I'm telling the whole team. So-and-so Johnny, hey, that's what I'm talking about. That's how you represent our team. Maybe it's a citizen thing. Maybe it's something on campus. That's what I'm talking about. I'm always talking about that something positive that we're doing. I mean, that your culture things. That's your culture things. And that is going to come back and raise everybody up, you know. And we had a saying there, wrestle to raise someone else up. Just by your effort. Just by your effort, how much you raise your teammates up. You think about not just your team, your coaching staff, the crowd. Think about what happens when someone just gives all out effort. What happens with the crowd? And so when we're constantly reinforcing those things, just in everyday talk, everyday practice, it becomes a success habit.
Yeah,
that makes sense?
Oh yeah, absolutely. You know, you talk about raising everyone up, and Coach Mitchell mentioned another thing, and I don't remember if it was something that you had impacted on him, but one of the things that really stood out to me was he was talking about guys and their girlfriend, and he said, does your girlfriend make you better? And so it kind of ties into that whole raising everything up, and even in building the culture where, you know, show me your friends and I could show you your future kind of mentality. And I think that all kind of ties in to not only on the mat with your partners and your teammates, but also in the classroom and all that stuff. And I thought it was fascinating. You know, you mentioned you had in your time coaching that you only had one non-graduate, and Coach Moyer, Mike Moyer, had mentioned that, you know, wrestling is one of the leading sports in the NCAA of first-generation college graduates.
Right.
You know, and I think that's such an important thing to where, you know, I think both of us kind of maybe took college for granted, where we were there maybe more for athletics than academics. And I think it's important to emphasize that with the kids who may be in that mindset of wrestling mode all the time. It's like, hey, this is really important. You know, we want to win national titles, but walking across that stage is really important.
Yeah, it's really not a championship experience unless you get both. You know, and I'm not saying, dude, it's rare to win a national championship. I get that. But if you have a great experience on the mat, on that team, but don't graduate, that's not a championship experience, you know. And I think that's a big life lesson for a lot of kids, because no one has said, I wish I hadn't graduated. No one. No one. I've had a lot say, I wish I would have, I wish I would have done better, one thing or another. I mean, I had kids that graduated 4 years after they left. I didn't let up. I kept calling, hey man, take something online, take it, transfer something in. I didn't care where they were. And we had a number of kids get it done. Maybe they were just tired of me, hounding them. Or maybe they realized, you know what, I spent all that time and I didn't graduate. How dumb, that's dumb, and they went back and got it. And so expectations is a big deal. And I'm going to tell you something. How part of the culture started for me when in recruiting. The first thing, number one, I wanted them to come with their parents if possible. I wanted to meet their parents. I started out with landlines my day, right? Landline. And usually mom answered. I loved landlines. I was great with mom. But when they came, I always invite, I want you to come. I want you to come visit too, the parents. First thing I would say, just want you to know, we do school here. We are going to graduate. If you're not interested in school, that's probably not the right place for you. Two things happen. It set a standard. Also had the parents love me. Love me, because that's exactly what they've been talking about. They don't want to spend the money to come, blah, 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 if you're not going to graduate. And so we were on the same page, me and mom and dad, right away, typically. And we set the standard for the kid. And that doesn't mean, hey, he said, sometimes I went and checked in the classroom. I don't know if you can do this today, but I went to the dorm rooms. I pulled a kid out of the bunk bed. Where you at, man? You got class in 10 minutes. Thought you were going. I was relentless sometimes, but you don't have to do that all the time. If they think that could happen, usually I don't want Coach Miller coming over here. It's embarrassing for them. And I didn't care, but dude, that's your job. You're going to school, stuff like that. So, and then those kids that tell other kids, and it was cool. But, it all reinforced to, hey, man, we're going to graduate. And then when we got on a roll, 5 years and everybody graduated, 10 years and everybody graduated, we say, hey, man, you don't want to be the only one not graduate, do you? So, same thing with like conference titles. We won 1, then we won 3, then 5, then 10, then 15, then, who wants to be the team that doesn't win the next one? I mean, it's hard to keep doing that, but it's also a powerful thing, if you can get something going in a positive way.
Coach, in addition to your 10-team national championships, you had 27 individuals win 37 titles, 145 All-Americans, and 73 academic All-Americans. Do you recall, were those all Iowa boys?
No.
Men?
I started out, the first national title we won, 9 out of 10 were. The last one, I think 5 out of 10 were. And we started to expand. Just seemed like there was, in Iowa, where are they going to go? They want to go to Iowa. They want to go to Iowa State. They want to go to Northern Iowa. You got 3 good Division III or Division I teams. And then you got a whole bunch of good junior college teams. And now you got, wasn't there when I was, now you got NAIA dominant national championship team. I mean, it's hard. And so we started to expand our, we were expanding out of Iowa. We needed to. Junior college, transfers. We had kids from Louisiana, Hawaii, New Jersey. And, we're just throwing the dart everywhere, and hopefully some would stick, And our whole deal was, hey, if we could get them to come visit and feel the culture, we had a lot better chance. They got on campus and met some of the guys and, knew that we were for real. And but trust me, for every one that came, 5 said no. It was hard. Recruiting's hard, man. That's one thing I don't miss is recruiting, because it was brutal. And now I don't even know how this NIL and all that stuff is going to work. That'd make it even tougher.
So mention about recruiting being hard and having, those gorillas of Division I programs in your backyard. Do you have a chip on your shoulder? What is kind of the recruiting? Are you looking for kids who might not have the grades that you can help with? Are you going after junior colleges more? What was kind of the change of how we get the best we can? Are you going for third, fourth place in the state?
Sure. Yeah, some of the best kids I ever had were third, fourth. I love third place kids. I loved it. They lost their dream and they still had the balls to come back and get third. I loved kids that got third. And but yeah, it was hard. And we didn't leave. Why would we leave a scenario out? I mean, junior college, sure. If they're the right kind of kid, he's going to graduate, if he's, what state they're from, I don't care. I mean, we had kids we had a couple from out of our country, Cameroon and so forth. We had a couple, we just fell into a couple that, hey, would you be interested? Yeah. I was interested in everybody. So I think you got to do that now. I mean, there's just the competition. I mean, hey, when I was at Northern Iowa, Gable was at Iowa. I mean, I could recruit a kid all year long, and Gable could come in the last minute and say, I want you. Okay. I mean, it'd be bought like that. I mean, that's how hard it was. You had Harold Nichols, and you had Jim Gibbons at Iowa State. Really good recruiter. And so, no matter where I was, Northern Iowa or Wartburg, it was hard, and, you just got to know what the other people are saying, when we weren't very good, when I started at Wartburg, it's like, they're not very good. And I knew it. And I had kids tell me that, Coach, I want to go somewhere good, and that was, I wrecked a couple phones back in the day when you had landline. I wrecked a couple phones and I'd write their name down. My wife doesn't let me forget this. I write their name down to say, we're gonna show this kid. I'm showing this kid. Stupid stuff. And but but you got to know, and then when we got good, people were saying, hey, you'll never make their lineup. And so, and I'd be saying, why do you think I'm calling you? If I didn't ever think you'd make our lineup, you know what they're going to say, and you got to rebuttal for it and so forth. And obviously you got to know your school. You got to know what you're good at, what majors and so forth, and be able to talk about financial aid and all that kind of thing. So, and one thing, hey, I look back, I had 12 doctors that went through the wrestling program in those 22 years. I mean, they're out practicing today. And so when you go through a pre-med deal and you're winning championships, that's so rare to be able to do that. How much time those kids had to spend more in the library or wherever they were studying and do what we were doing in the wrestling program. I look back, man, that's phenomenal, but when you can use those as the example, hey, here's a kid. What do you mean you're busy? Here's a kid that's in pre-med and he's trying to win a national title at the same time. I mean, hey, get with it. Do it anyway. I mean, it pretty easy to resonate that. But they did. And it's kind of set the standard for us academically and athletically. When you got 72 through whatever it was, academic All-Americans, man, we're proud of those. We made a big deal of that because it is a big deal.
Coach, you mentioned New Jersey. Jimmy and I are both born and bred in New Jersey. Does any New Jerseyites come to mind off the top of your head?
Cody Silvestri.
Oh, he was a stud. Was a stud. Yeah. Was he a national champ for you guys?
He was. Out of all the national champions we had, he was the only one that was OW. Yeah.
He was a JUCO guy too, right?
He was a JUCO guy. New York. Which one was it? But they had their national championship was in Des Moines that year. And he got third. And I just said, I love the guys that get third. And obviously he was a talent. I mean, dude, you watch him wrestle, he was kind of a freak.
Yeah, morale is pretty good.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, he was fun to coach. He was he won our conference both. I mean, he wasn't undefeated, but he was almost undefeated. But he beat a 2-time national champion and a kid going for his third to win the national title. It was really a big upset, and that's why he got the OW. So yeah, I remember Cody was a good one.
Coach, we talk about those 10 national titles and all the accolades and your years of success. Do you have a story or, a particular wrestler, maybe that underdog story that kind of sticks out in your mind? Maybe not the national champ or the guy everyone knows, but really when you think about why you became a coach and what you were doing, that was the reason and that was what kind of defined your program?
Dude, I had a lot of underdog stories. I'll tell you one that you probably know a little bit of. His name's Paul Reedy. Probably one of the best assistant coaches in America. Nick Mitchell's assistant. He came to Wartburg. The guy was so skinny, and I swear to God, I don't know if he could even lift the plate or the bar on a bench press almost. He was so skinny and little, just got tortured. I mean, we had national champions at those weights. He was just, I cringed at practice sometimes because he would just get throttled. But everybody loved this guy. I love this guy. And he was the guy. Remember when I told you when we had a backup wrestle in the dual meet and got beat 3-2? But that's what I'm talking about. And anyway, Paul Reedy knew everybody in the state of Iowa. Swear to God. And some of our national champions, we had the Ryan Sturm, Mark Sturm was his twin brother, Scott Kaufman, who was a transfer from Iowa. They all love Reedy. So Reedy said, hey, I talked to so-and-so the other day. Hey, man, I think he's interested. I mean, he was the best recruiter we had. This backup kid that was loyal, just such a good kid. And that's what he's doing in Grandview. Dude, he knows everything. If you want to know a rumor, you call Paul Reedy. Now, he'd probably say, call me. No, you call Paul Reedy because he's calling me. Hey, what do you know about this? What do you know about that? What do you know about this kid? And you look at Grandview. What happened at Grandview? Oh, my goodness. And Nick Mitchell will tell you this. He's a big reason. He's a big reason.
Do you guys have a dual meet against Grandview? Is that
never wrestled?
No,
they've never wrestled. I think they ought to wrestle. Of course, I'm out now. I've been out a long time, so and I think that makes a difference when you're out a long time.
Been out, but now you're the director of the National Wrestling Hall of Fame, the Dan Gable Museum out there in Iowa. So tell all the good people what you got going on there and what your day looks like at the Hall of Fame.
Dude, I lucked into this job. I can't tell. I mean, I don't know why I wasn't, when it first came open, I wasn't like, no. I was teaching at Wartburg. I wasn't coaching. I was just teaching. It was easy. I was also bored stiff. And don't get me wrong. I loved Wartburg. I didn't mind teaching. It just wasn't my passion. I was pretty good at it, I think. But, and this came open. I had a couple people. Kyle Klingman was the director here, and he left to go to Flow. He was the first one to say, hey, you ought to think about this job. And then Dan Gable calls me, and heck, he was probably 3 years ago. He was 69 or going on 70, but dude, he can still recruit. Gable can still recruit. He's hard to, he plants that seed. And why wouldn't I? But I struggled with it. And for about 2 weeks, I struggled with it. And finally I was grumpy, I'm telling you this from my wife's perspective. I was grumpy, wouldn't talk. And then finally me and her, I said, let's go out to eat. And I said, well, I don't know. What do you think? And she goes, why wouldn't you? I'm so sick of you sitting around the house and wondering about, get back into wrestling. Yeah, of course you should. I mean, she had no doubt about it. And she was 100% right. 100%. And so I did. And it's been the best move, man. I mean, it's just, I'm back into wrestling. A lot more fun. I mean, not that coaching wasn't fun. It was fun. I wouldn't trade any of it, but it's fun. I come to work. It's fun. There's no stress, really. I mean, I haven't lost a dual meet or a tournament since I've been here, right? Yeah. and we're helping little kids. We got little kids. We had a wrestling room in the Dan Gable Museum, 2-mat wrestling rooms, beautiful. We got kids coming in, youth kids coming in. We're helping high school team. We just had a camp for East Waterloo High School. We have college teams that come in. I mean, before they wrestle you and I, Oklahoma State, Nebraska, South Dakota State, they come in, work out, view the museum. We got a theater room in the museum. I mean, a theater room that shows wrestling. I mean, I watched Bill Cole, Rob Cole's dad, 1948, 3-time national champ, legend from Northern Iowa. I watched his 1948 match just to see what it looked like is amazing. And you can go back and just pick out Bannock and Mark Schultz too. I mean, Dan Gable and who's my guy that beat him? Who beat Dan Gable? Huh? Yeah.
Jesse Owens.
No, Larry
Owens. Jesse Owens was the runner. Whatever. Okay. I had the name.
It dropped my mind. I shouldn't be, because that's one of the ones that people like to watch. But Gable doesn't, obviously. But that's on there. Dan Gable's life story, ESPN, is on there. And you can just, so many, like Jim Gibbons. I don't know if you remember. Jim Gibbons walked in. He was former coach at Iowa State. He won a national title. I threw up his match. He hadn't seen it. And, it's just, when teams come in, Damian Hahn, South Dakota State, we throw up his championships, and his kids get to watch it. His athletes, they hadn't seen it. I mean, it's, we just have a lot of fun, and we do a lot of things that lift up wrestling. We honor those that have helped make it great. We inspire through, with the kids and all that. We had Bruce Bumgardner sign his image. We've had 5 people sign their image in the museum so far. Chucky Agla, Bruce Bumgardner, Gable, Bobby Douglas. Who am I missing? John Smith. And so, Bumgardner, for example, Bruce Bumgardner. I mean, what a legend this guy is. I mean, I don't know if everybody knows. This guy won 15 world medals, 5 gold, 2-time Olympic champ. Crazy. And we had him come in, and he was talking. We had kids come in. We invited teams to come in, and they're there, a bunch of kids. And these kids are probably grade school, middle school, most of them. And Bruce Bumgardner, huge guy, obviously. But he says, I want all you kids to know I started wrestling in 9th grade. I didn't know any of this. He started wrestling in 9th grade. My record was 1-9. And the one win was a forfeit. And here these kids thinking, I'll never be as good as this guy. I mean, dude, he was 1-9 in 9th grade. Of course you can be. And just things like that happen that are great. And Dan Gable is, I swear to God, he's more popular now than when he was coaching. He's 73 years old. We had a big 73 party, 72 we called it last October. 72, he won the Olympics, and he was 72 at the time. We had over 300 people from all over the country come. Obviously, the Medal of Freedom even enhanced it from the last few years. But this guy will go to Subway, and he's taking pictures with, last time he's taking pictures with a women's lacrosse team. I mean, how do you even know that was Dan Gable? I mean, it was great. It's great. If we have a signing or something for him, we'll have kids lined up. I mean, little kids. Want his autograph, 5, 6, 7 years old. Obviously, they probably heard about him and so forth. But it's been fun. It's been fun to see someone impact wrestling still. And he hasn't coached since 1997. And, and he's still one of the faces of wrestling, And so it's been cool. It's been very cool. It's been fun. I'm glad I took the job. And because it's just been, I'm like a little kid getting up in the morning, we got this going on. We got that going on. And we had our Hall of Fame last weekend, and huge sellout crowd. And it was just cool. And I get to do that stuff. So I'm like a little kid again. My birthday was yesterday. I was 69.
Happy birthday, Coach.
And so I'm just having fun, like a little. I'm kind of giddy right now just thinking about it.
Coach, is there a pro wrestling wing there?
Yeah, there is.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. I'm a huge pro wrestling fan, and I hope Kurt Angle's in that wing.
Yeah, dude, this wing is cool. And in our theater, we also got some pretty cool pro matches too that are fun to watch. But hey, our pro, we have a 3-day Hall of Fame. And maybe I got that. Yeah, right there. I don't know if you can see this. This is our poster.
Jerry Bristol.
I don't know if you know this gal here, Trish Stratus. She's going to be here.
IRS, Cole Cabana.
Yeah. And anyway, it's Jerry Briscoe's always here. But
Jim Ross on that.
Jim Ross is getting the award. He's going into Hall of Fame this year. So Baron von Rodsky, he's a real popular one. Always comes
AWA.
back. Oh yeah, and so it's a blast. I didn't know much about pro when I got here 3 years ago, but dude, this is a fun weekend, and I've learned to really embrace it, man, because these people love wrestling. And Gable will come Thursday night. We have a social here at the museum. Gable walks in, dude. They love it. They love him, and he loves them. And so it's a blast. And we have Becca Roper is my assistant, right? Becca loves wrestling. She is a star. And her husband Lee Roper is assistant at Northern Iowa. She's a Georgia girl. She's one of those that wish she could have wrestled. She just, one of her things. And so she started to. And one of the street leagues, was it the street league thing 2 years ago? Yeah. She wrestled her first match. She was 30 years old, wrestled her first match. She was smiling the whole time of the match. She's having a ball. Well, this coming, so it's the 22nd, Friday the 22nd, Becca's doing her first pro match. She's doing a pro match.
That's awesome.
Yeah. In the ring, the whole deal. Oh yeah. So it'll be a blast. Yeah, we love it.
We're big Coach Roper fans. He's been on the show twice before. Okay. And so with that in mind, knowing that you've both wrestled and coached for University of Northern Iowa, as fans, what do we have to do to facilitate a UNI Iowa match?
I don't know what you can do. I don't think, no matter what you do, it ain't going to happen.
Sit around a campfire or a peace pipe.
Yeah, man. We'd like to see it.
Yeah.
We'd like to see it. And I don't know the real reasons why Coach Brands and Swabner just can't get together, but maybe it'll happen. Something, I'm hoping national duels or something, but they don't do that.
No.
They don't bracket it, anymore. So I'm thinking, hey, man, you just never know. I mean, who knew that Penn State was going to be where Penn State is 10 years ago? Who knew that Ohio State was going to win a title, or Michigan last year jumped up there? You just don't know what's going to happen, and things change, and that'd be cool to see, but it's not happening next year.
Yeah.
No, but being a UNI guy, someone who coached there for a little bit, you went there, you must be pretty stoked on seeing how Coach Schwab and Coach Roper have brought that program around. And I mean, we love UNI. They might not be.
That's our Iowa team.
Yeah, like they might not be. Yeah,
they Grandview and now Wartburg too.
Yeah, they might not.
Division I for sure.
They may not be one of the bigger schools, but for us, they're those hard workers that have the kids that love wrestling, who are going to be out there and scrap, and their coaches are bringing the fire. So that must get you excited.
Yeah, I love it. I live like a mile from the West Gym. I love the West Gym competing. I was in there mid-70s. I was a long time ago, but it was phenomenal. And I still love I love the West Gym. I don't know what's happening there with the West Gym or whether they're going to be competing there. I also, the McLeod Center seats about 7,000. That's a great place for wrestling. They wrestled, I think it was Iowa State last year. They wrestled Okie State in there. It's a great place. And I don't mind if they move over there. Some people might, I don't know, but I wouldn't mind seeing them over there. But, it's just the history of the West Gym is so cool. They won the national title in the West Gym in 1950. And it's just a cool place. It is, and a lot of people have come in through the museum. It's one of their, what do you call it? One of the things they want to see. They want to see a dual meet there. And hopefully they'll get a chance in the next year or two that people will still be able to see it if they want to. But things change too, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, I'm a loyal Panther. I've seen it. UNI changed my life for the better. The coaches and mentors I met through there. My coach Chuck Patton at the time, he's still a mentor to me. He's 80 some years old. Love that guy. And so, yeah, it's a special place for me.
Coach, switching gears back to your coaching career, you had a very unique experience. You got to coach your son, and I believe he was a national champion. How did you navigate that the waters of being dad, but also being coach? Was there rocky times? Was that good? Do you have any suggestions for?
Well, that's one of the questions. Yeah, that's one of the questions I get a lot. One of the most asked questions when I'm talking to coaches or parents is that, what best way to coach your son or daughter? And I don't think there's a magic formula, and I certainly didn't have it. I sucked at it, especially early. But I coached at the college level. Most are coaching at the middle school or high school level. I coached at the college level, so we butted heads. He didn't want, and he'd say now, "Hey, I knew you were right, but I didn't want to hear it from you." You know what I mean? He didn't want to hear it from his dad, and I'm sure his teammates, yeah, dad, what'd dad say? Or who knows? I don't know. But it wasn't ideal for him either. But the best thing I did was, about his second year, is put an assistant coach was in charge of him. I didn't coach him anymore. He did want me to sit on the bench. He did want me to sit in the chair, but a guy named Chris Ortner, really good coach. He's a coach at Don Bosco in Iowa this year, or since last year, good coach. And he kind of started coaching TJ. And when that happened, he took off. He took off. And yeah, he did win. He was a 3-time All-American and a national champion. And he got 6th in the state his senior year. He wasn't some blue chip kid or anything, but he got around. We had a really good upper weight, a whole bunch of kids in that upper weight classes. And he got tough. He started working out and doing things he needed to do in the wrestling room and so forth. And he got better and he started thinking bigger, and he got it done. So yeah, it was a thrill, man. If I had to pick out one moment in time, that's probably the highest moment in time in my career. Your son wins a national title. You're the coach. There's only been 5 in history that's ever happened, that the head coach son, and I'm talking at the college level. High school level happens every year, it seems like. But at the college level, it's only happened 5 times, is what I've been told by the Kyle Klingman and so that's pretty crazy.
That question is one you get asked a lot about coaching your son.
Yeah.
If you could go, say you have a DeLorean or time machine, and you could go and give yourself advice as a younger coach, or maybe up and coming coach, what advice would you give to your younger self or younger wrestling coach just starting a program?
Well, I think, are you talking about for your kids?
No, I'm talking about as you giving yourself advice as a younger coach.
Yeah, that's a great question. And I would just say, knowing the things I know now, what I'd look back and say, hey, what worked? What worked, and start earlier. But what worked was helping kids think bigger, convincing kids to wrestle their butt off the whole time, that they can do it. Don't be scared of it. Make fatigue your friend instead of being scared of it. Make fatigue your friend. Those kind of things I would start earlier, and luckily, early in my college career, I started doing some of that stuff, but I coached a long time. I made every mistake in the book. And that's one thing I tell coaches, especially young coaches. Dude, I made every mistake in the book. People think, man, you won 10 national titles. Yeah, the first one, I was 43. I'd coached 20 years before I won one. Then I started getting good, and I won, because when I got done when I was 59, I think I was done. But all those, I got my second year, we got second by a point. The next year we got second by 1 3/4. Oh, dude, I could have strangled myself on the mistakes I made. But I just encourage coaches, man, just don't get down. Don't get down on themselves. Just keep positive. And I tell young people, like with their little kids, I say, hey, my goal would be to have, if I was coaching little kids, to have them like wrestling in 7th grade. That'd be one of my goals. I want the kids to like wrestling. I don't care how good they are. I just want them to like wrestling. Well, how do you get them to like wrestling? Well, you help them love the sport. Take them to a meet. Take them to a high school meet. Take them to a college meet. Have a get-together, a Big Ten network meet. I mean, there's so many things. When you have someone come in, have them come in and talk to your kids personally. Shake hands with them. When I was a young coach, I would go to the junior high and I'd write down, I had all their names written down because I don't know who they were, but I'd wrote and I say, hey, what's that kid's name, to the junior high coach? He said, that's Johnny. I go, Johnny, Coach Miller, I can't wait to see you when you get 2 years into high school. Oh my God. They loved it. They thought, oh my God, Coach Miller wants me at the high school. Don't think he didn't tell everybody either. He did. And that's exactly what I wanted him to do, just to be excited and to love wrestling. Whether you don't have to be good at it yet. Just like it, just because you're going to get better. They're going to get better. If they just stick with it, good things are going to happen. We had a group in the museum the other day, and that's exactly what I told them. Just stick with it. These were actually a whole group of girls. Girls are exploding. They had a team of girls come in, and some of them were good, and some of them had never wrestled. But they're all going out. They're going to have a good team, and I think they will. But I said, just stick with it and good things will happen, because it will. It will happen. Number one, they're going to learn a lot of life lessons. It's going to be hard. They're going to learn to work hard. They're going to learn to, stick with it when it's hard and so forth, do it anyway stuff. But they're also going to get better. And, they'll find out. I mean, how great is it when you learn adversity, getting up? You're going to learn to get back up after getting knocked down time after time, And if you just learn that, how much better will you be in your life? Those kind of things. So I get excited when I start thinking about that. Wow, this is the best life lesson sport in the world. I mean, you have to get back up. Yeah, I mean, you got to learn to do that. And then you relate that to your life. How many times do you get knocked down, figuratively or not, in your life? So, yeah, man, I love this sport.
Well, you got me excited about wrestling right now. I wish I had the Hall of Fame to go walk around after this, but yeah, you got us super excited, Coach.
Coach, you're a very unique individual in terms of you're one of a select group of people who could say that they were an All-American in 2 different divisions. You were a national champ Division II, and then you were also an All-American Division I. As someone who has that accolade, but someone who is also a coach at the Division III level, is that something you would like to see brought back? And do you think that is good for the sport or for all sports?
Dude, I love that part. When I was an athlete, I had people at the Division I tournament cheering for me. They didn't know who I was, but they knew I was this little school trying to beat the big guys, It was the underdog thing, It was fun. It was really fun. But Division II was a brute. It was so good, that division back then. I mean, my sophomore year, I think Division II had 4 Division I champs.
Wow.
Yeah, 2 weeks later, had the tournament. 2 weeks later, 4 Division I champs out of Division II. So it was hard. It was good. That will never come back because they're never going to vote to give slots to Division II and Division III. Do I wish it would? I would have loved that. And, Wartburg, I think I probably had a half a dozen kids that had a legit chance to be on the podium in Division I. Legit chance. I mean, they placed in Midlands and so forth, and they were legit. So yeah, that would have been fun.
Did you have a favorite wrestling shoe, or were you just the kind of coach that wore the ones they gave you?
Dude, I was just happy to have one. I mean, that's the way I were when I started, and but I was, we were Adidas sponsored. I'll tell you a quick story. Tom Scully beat me in Division I national finals. He went on to be the Adidas guy. And this is what the sport of wrestling does with you, though. When I became the head coach of Wartburg, we weren't good. Tom Scully called me and said, "I want to sponsor your team to help." And we had obviously Division III. You got no money. Your budget's low. And he helped us get shoes, knee pads, headgears for our team. I mean, he called me out of the blue. We hadn't hardly talked since, 74. So that was 93, 84, 90, it's 20 years later. He just called and said, "I want to help you." How cool is that? And so I was very, very loyal to Tom and Adidas. Yeah. So that's what we wore. Okay. But that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
Heck yeah. Coach, is it stance in motion or stance end motion?
Say it again.
Stance in motion or stance end motion?
Stance in motion. I guess stance in motion. I hate it when I want people to be moving their feet, so I think stance in motion, right?
Yep.
Coach, is it 125 or 125s?
125. Where'd this S come from? You from Colorado? I do all these clinics in Colorado, and it's like 106s or what? Oh no, we're the states. Like state tournament. No, states. What? Where's it? Why is there an S in there?
Oh, you just answered our next one.
What was it?
We go by states in Jersey.
I know you. Oh, Jersey. Okay, I got you.
Yeah. Got any more wrestling ones?
Coach, if there was one you could, if you were in charge of the rules and regulations, is there one rule that you would add in or take out to improve the sport of wrestling?
Well, in high school, I would absolutely use the college rule of out of bounds. If you got one foot in, one hand in, keep wrestling. I love that. That was I think that was a really good rule. And I don't know about Jersey, but in Iowa, it's not like that. Still, if one foot goes out of each, you're off, something like that.
And is there one thing that we could do to make?
Can I say one more thing? The college rule of near fall. I like the 4-point near fall.
Yeah.
High school, you got 3. So, yeah.
And is there one thing that we could do to grow the fan base, or one thing we could do better?
Well, promote, and I think things like the Big Ten Network has really been good. I wish we could have some, like for instance, when I was coaching, Iowa Public Television is a public television would broadcast college wrestling. We actually had Wartburg and Augsburg on there when that meet was at Wartburg. I mean, it was statewide TV, and other states on the borders got it too. And that was a boom for Division III wrestling. I mean, people had never seen Division III wrestling, and they found a good product, And so anything like that we can do to promote our sport. Jay Robinson always said, "Hey man, TV is a big game changer," and it is. And you can see what's happened with the Big Ten Network on because I think, like you say, with the exposure with little kids that aren't maybe not totally into the sport, you can bring fans in, and you get a fan that's so, and he watches the Iowa Penn State meet or whatever the meet is. Wow, I spoke at the Iowa Education Department graduation this year. I spoke at their graduation, and I met the Iowa new president, this young, she's a lady, great gal. Her first dual meet of her life was Iowa Penn State in Carver.
It's a good one to go to.
So don't think that wasn't an impact deal for our sport. And I don't think it has anything to do. I mean, and obviously now Iowa leading the way with the women and Clarissa Chung. the head coach. Man, what a great, it's so awesome. So, whatever we can do that way, we can do. But, and I think with coaches, and what I keep telling them is what I already told you, help your kids love the sport. Whether it's take them to a high school match if they've never, get, and all of a sudden, a couple of those high school kids will be their heroes, and they'll have somebody to look to. And then maybe it's a college meet or, I think we got to make efforts to do that. And, I mean, you think about it, when I was a little kid, I wanted to be a baseball player, but I went to baseball games. I got to see semi-pro in our town. And then, on TV, you got to see the Yankees play. Mickey Mantle, for me, was, I want to be a pro baseball player, and so you got role models out there that you might not know, but it's a big deal to have that and to grow our sport. So, and how about a guy like Jordan Burroughs? I mean, dude, who wouldn't want to be like Jordan Burroughs? I mean, and we got so many, Kyle Snyder to Dave, Taylor. We really got a great, our women, Helen Maroulas to, we just have so many great role models in our sport. Let's just expose our kids to them. Not just those. You can have some at the high school level, the college level, but, we got so many great role models that for our kids to try to model after.
Coach, you mentioned it twice now, and I'll be kicking myself if I don't ask you. You said one of the most important things as a coach and something you should do early is get them to love the sport as soon as they can, right? 7th grade, I think you said the goal was. And Rich and I were outliers growing up because we were kids that grew up loving wrestling and were kind of made fun of because the culture was more of, oh, wrestling sucks. This sport is brutal. Why do you do this? How do you think we got there as a sport? Do you think it became the cut and weight and just the monotony of wrestling and not having people kind of emphasizing the life lessons and life's a daily grind? And if you get good at this grind, you'll be able to transfer it into this grind. Like, how do you think we got to a road where people became accepting of, oh, I hate this sport, but I'm going to do it anyway?
Well, I hope they don't think I hate this sport, but I get it with the weight cutting. Dude, that was brutal, the way we used to do things. I'm glad we totally got away from that. Because I went through that in my era, high school and college. It wasn't good for the sport, and it wasn't good for our image or anything else sometimes, but it's a lot better now, way better, and it's healthier. And so really happy that we made a big change there. So I'm not sure how. I think it goes in different places. If you go into some high schools, dude, it's the best sport on campus. They love it. They come out and some aren't, but those schools is just some you gotta work at. We've got to have people that really want to change that, not just the coach, but you got the coach, you got the parents, you got the community. That's what the coaches, that's the hard part, but that's what has to happen. That's what you dig in. I speak at a lot of places and I went to one last June. Well, that was just a month ago, I guess. And so it was like, they had parents there, had little kids, had their parents, had the high school kids, their parents. They had a cookout, and then they had a speaker, and they had some video, and it was great. And so, they were, and that's what I talked about. Hey, man, you guys are doing great. You love the sport, and these kids knew who Bruce Baumgartner was. They knew who Helen Maroulas was. They knew who Carissa Chung was, who Dan Gable was. So. You could tell that their coaches and parents and community people were, and this wasn't a community that's winning championships, but they're gonna be. And that's what I told them. They're gonna be, because it was unusually good. And they're breeding really a great culture at this place. And within a couple of years, they're gonna reap some benefits. And man, and it's in a good way. I mean, that's what they're doing. They're just helping their kids love the sport, get to know. They bring in people that are well known and so forth, and they are taking them to meets. They are talking about the things they need to talk about and so forth. And they're also saying, "Hey, we want you to play football too. We want you to play soccer. Go play baseball. Go." It's not like we just wrestle. And so the community. So as a result, the community is behind the whole thing. For all their sports. So anyway. maybe I'm rambling a little bit, but I am very passionate about that, because it can happen. One thing I know, success can happen anywhere. It can happen anywhere. And I lived that myself with some of my teams. But, you look at Grandview. How in the heck did that happen? From scratch. 10 national titles now from scratch. What, 12 years ago or so? 13 years ago? I mean, how did that happen at Penn? What's going on at Penn State right now? How'd that happen? St. Cloud State in D2. Man, they were not very good not that long ago. And I could go on a number of teams. But it can happen anywhere, high school and college, so just like a business, a new manager comes in a business and changes the culture and good things start to happen. And so, maybe I'm a guy, I'm a guy glass full. I'm a full guy. I don't go half full. I'm full.
It's full. Well, you definitely filled up our cup. We got 4 more quick ones and we'll get you out of here. We really appreciate your time. It's been really motivating and inspiring to chat with you.
Put my running shoes on.
Yeah.
For real.
Are you a coffee drinker?
Yeah.
How do you brew your coffee? How do you take it?
It's not black. I got to have my creamer. I'm a sissy there, man. I mean, I grew up, my parents, everybody around me, it was black. Hard, but no. But I found out that, hey, man, this coffee ain't so bad. You get the right creamer in there, And so I have at the museum, I make coffee every day. And I work out right away. And then I have my coffee. And I got my, French vanilla or whatever it is. I got a whole bunch of different brands. And I look forward to it. Yeah. But I have about 2 big cups and I'm done. I can't drink only in the morning. Then I'm done.
You have like a time, like a hard cutoff when you're done?
Yeah, I'm done. Yeah.
No, like what time are you done?
Okay.
Do you have a time you want to drink
I get here at 8
past?
o'clock. I get up at 8 o'clock and I work out and I'm done by 9:30. By 9:30, I'm done.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think you already answered this, but do you have any daily practices or rituals you do on a regular basis to show up as the strongest version of yourself?
You know what? I need hobbies. I don't have hobbies. I used to fish as a kid. I mean, I don't golf. I hate golf. I don't do anything I can't win at in golf. Man, you can't win at golf. And, bowling, I suck, So I don't have hobbies except working out. I enjoy it. I feel better after working out. And so that's my hobby, I guess. But just being a fan of different things, including the sport of wrestling. But yeah, I don't know if that was a good answer, but
sure.
Coach, what are you listening to right now? Music-wise, podcasts, audio books? Are you reading anything?
I do. I read. I'm a guy that does audio books all the time, especially when I work out and so forth. Yeah, I listen to a lot of sports. What do you call it? Sports talk shows. I used to listen to some stuff. Anything politics, never. News, never. I don't turn it on. I don't listen to any of it. But so I'm basically sports or get better stuff. Or I love I love biographies. I love biographies. And Shoe Dog, just for example, Shoe Dog. Shoe Dog is if you read that one, that was fun. It was, the story of Nike and Phil Knight and so forth. But, things like that I read, like in almost everyone I have, everybody's gone through adversity. I love that. I mean, I don't love it, but I appreciate it, and what they've done with their life. And you don't read someone that's really attained a lot without adversity in their life. So, yeah, that's a part of my life. The books, the reading, the so forth. Yeah.
Coach, you mentioned your love of baseball, and you also mentioned sports talk radio. Do you have a favorite Major League Baseball team?
Well, May 17th, 2013, I threw out the first pitch for the Cubs.
All right.
So,
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Very
so
cool.
That became my team. They gave me a jersey. Here, let's see if we can see it. Tell me if you can see it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Wow. That's awesome.
So there's a picture of the thing, but they gave me the jersey number 10 because of the 10 national titles, but that was a retired number. So that was a special permission jersey they made, because Ron Santo is a Hall of Famer. That's a retired number for the Cubs. So, man, I appreciated that. Was a very humbling deal. But, man, that was pretty cool. And I hadn't thrown a baseball in 30 years. And I didn't know if I should go to the top of the mound. They said, go to the top of the mound, turn and throw, a catcher will be there. And I aimed it about a foot over the catcher's head, and it dropped right in for a strike. And
nice.
It had to be one of the slowest pitches in Wrigley Field history. And that baby dropped right in. I was so happy. It's cool.
Very cool.
Yeah. So I became a Cubs. I became a Cubs
right on.
fan.
Respect.
Yeah.
Coach, last one for you real quick. May not be your cup of tea, but if it is, not necessarily that you believe in anything or subscribe to anything, but do you have a favorite conspiracy theory?
Conspiracy theory. I guess not. I can't think of anything.
Okay. No, that's all right.
I guess not. I'm a pretty trusting guy, so, but well, like I said, when I don't watch the news or I don't pay attention to a lot of stuff, politics, there's a lot less conspiracy theories to like or not, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, we like to say over here, if I don't acknowledge it, it doesn't exist. So we subscribe to that same.
Well, that's
same
kind of
thing.
my life. Yeah, I don't acknowledge a whole lot. Yeah,
Coach, that was awesome. Thank you so much. You got me fired up right now.
I had fun, man.
Yeah, Coach, thanks for all you do. Thanks for the work you do at the museum and taking time out of your day to chat with us. You have a good one.
Hey, man, you guys ever get to Iowa, you come make sure you let me know. We'll come through the museum.
Definitely.
Give
We
me a
will.
personal tour.
Thank you.
Okay, guys. Thanks a lot.
Have a great night.
Thank you.
See you.